As we have seen in the previous module, gender seems to be an absent category of analysis in most of the higher education policy documentation. There is not any sufficient awareness about the importance of gender equality and introducing women-friendly policies. Women are not being identified and prepared for leadership. Even when included, gender is related to mere addition of female students rather than to staff. Ironically, educational institutions haven't taken any proactive steps, and now it's time for the government to do course correction by coming up with regulations. It is high time to break the status quo as far as women leadership in higher education is concerned and take women-oriented initiatives seriously. Taking this as a problematic, in this module, we will discuss the need for having qualitative changes as well as certain concrete policy recommendations. So, beginning from National Policy on Education 1986. The National Policy on Education 1986 adopted a program of action in 1992, which held that it is imperative that the entire educational system is alive to the gender and regional dimensions of educational disparities. The main features of this implementation strategy of NPE POA 1992, among other things, included to encourage educational institutions to take up active programs to enhance women's status and further women's development in all the sectors. Also, to create a dynamic and responsive management structure. This initiative also emphasized on training of teachers as decision makers, administrators, planners, so that to enable them to play a positive interventionist role for gender equality. Another quality transformation which is very much needed has to be in the way we understand leadership. As we have discussed in the previous module, the nature of leadership have changed radically. So to pick from that argument, leadership development, it must escape the traditional approach which is embedded in the curricula of graduate and other training programs. Today's leaders need to be more like entrepreneurs, and they must focus on innovation and analytics. They must focus on a vision which is necessary to enable institutions to improve their performance and to create and maintain a competitive advantage. A leader needs to create a strong network of people ready to work together. And to ensure this, leadership capability must tactically be designed and implemented to enable transformation, which is very imperative for academic institution. Probing further into this need to have a different style of leadership or to develop an alternative leadership schema, we need to understand the role a diverse leadership can play in a globalized higher education. As we all are aware that globalization and technological advancement has altered the face of higher education. This online induction program, which we all are part of, is one of the very important examples of it. Now, this change has actually called for a leadership environment which can work and further a multicultural educational setting. A multicultural environment will encompass different races, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and age. This kind of inclusivity is only achievable through a communal way of leadership and by ensuring a channel of communication where everyone's opinion is heard, where group work and collaboration is encouraged. These ways are then very vital to help leaders foster relativeness and develop an understanding amongst them, and also help create an environment which will be very friendly to all the stakeholders within the educational realm. Now, this situation can be very well managed by including women. Women as leaders, they can do this and obviously are needed in top ranks to help bring higher education organization at higher levels through their contributions. as they bring diverse strengths, perspectives, and innovation to the exercise of leadership. This is plausible only when we recognize that discrimination and marginalization are present in our academic structure, and simultaneously we call for a capability approach to address the status quo. And thus, women must be equipped with identified capabilities, capabilities such as self-esteem, motivation levels, and ability to have administrative and decision-making posts. These can be very instrumental in tackling gender disparity and inequality in the Indian higher education sector. It is high time that we realize the urgent need to tackle gender bias. While entry-level jobs are not a problem, subsequent growth in academia depends not just on teaching, but also on publishing, research, and mentoring of research candidates. For this to happen smoothly, it is important that institutions now come forward and provide opportunities to women scholars. It has to be a proactive effort. Besides these ways, there are also certain other recommendations for future action. First is policy. Policy needs to be informed by gender disaggregated statistics that are updated regularly and made readily accessible. These need to be for higher education staff across different employment categories. We need to develop institutional vision and organizational culture of diversity and inclusion. Policies on gender equality and gender mainstreaming needs to be developed and accompanied by strategic action plans, resource allocation, and reporting mechanisms. These should include timelines, goals, performance indicator, and effective evaluation procedures. We also need to develop a professional network of mentors, women leaders, and capacity building programs. Further, policies on recruitment and selection of senior leaders needs to be reviewed to aim for more transparency and accountability in decision making. And most importantly, we have to start at the level of family by acknowledging the unpaid labor or the double shift carried by women. We need to devise way for leveraging women careers by family and society by developing sensitivity towards diversity and inclusion. Educational leadership requires skill, passion, and perseverance. And these already complex roles often present an additional set of challenge for women leaders. Hence, there is a need to organize regional and national leadership development programs and coaching for mid and senior level female administrators who have the leadership aspiration to advance in the higher ranks of higher education. Two prominent examples from other countries for such initiatives are Higher Education Resource Services and Athena SWAN. So the first one, Higher Education Resource Services. This is a Denver, USA based leadership development and research organization. This organization is dedicated to create and sustain a diverse network of women leaders in higher education. Women in Education Leadership Program offered by Harvard Graduate School of Education facilitates self-reflection, peer networking, developing strategic thinking, and employment of advanced leadership skills. Similarly, the other organization, Athena SWAN, it is designed to support the advancement of women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But all of this can only be possible when women realize the need to have a career strategy for themselves and acquire appropriate skills and competencies. Women need to be vocal about their aspirations and take ownership of their professional roles. Men and women who have held positions as vice chancellors must also coach and mentor women to take up leadership roles in future of India. Also, policymakers in India must strive to have female representation across university leadership positions as vice chancellors. Female leadership in top positions in academia all over the globe, but particularly in India, is not only underrepresented but also under-researched. It is likely that it is not even an active part of the higher education roadmap, but it certainly needs to be. Gender diversity and equality from the standpoint of leadership must become subjects of research.